Hey, everybody, it's Bob Knakal, Chairman and CEO of BKREA. Welcome to the best 1031 online. It's hosted by my second favorite Massimo coach, James Bean.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of My Fellow CRE Investors. Today, my guest is none other than Bob BK Knakal, Chairman and CEO of BKREA and the top selling broker in New York of all time. BK, thank you for making time to be here. How are you these days?
James, great to be with you, my friend. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yes, well, trust me, the pleasure is all mine. How's your summer been so far?
Summer's been great. I can't believe it's almost over. And probably by the time folks watch this, it will be over. But summer's always too fast. But it was a great summer. And, looking forward to get back deeply in the trenches after Labor Day.
Yes, sir. Can't wait. So, diving straight in, we met back in either 2017 or 2018. You were a guest at a Massimo Immersion event. And I only bring this up because not only was it a treat for all that attended, but no matter what, you've always been very generous with your time with us coaches and members, especially with the behind scenes happy hours where we love to get your take on the current market landscape. So real quick, I'm going to share a photo real quick.
Uh-oh.
This is a picture from when we were in Orlando. So I don't know how well you can see that, but there's me to the left, and you can kind of see you behind. I don't know who that guy is, but the guy to the right is David Ellerman. He's not with us anymore. But I don't know if you remember that Orlando trip. It was funny because we were all expecting to be in the sunshine and ended up being cold. And people gave me a hard time because I was wearing that hoodie. And we went to Universal Studios. And more than half of the group went to Universal Studios and bought hoodies at Universal Studios because it was so cool. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was a great event.
Yes. So tell us, when and how did you meet Rod?
Well, this is probably 2011. I get a call from some guy. He says, "Hey, this is Rod Santamassimo. I'm writing a book called Brokers Who Dominate. And it's about the top brokers in North America. And everybody's telling me I should put you in the book. Would you be interested?" And I said, what broker wouldn't want to be in a book called Brokers Who Dominate? So I, of course, said yes. Proceeded to have several phone interviews with Rod and got around to asking him, a little bit about him and, how many books have you written and what do you normally write about? And he told me he was a broker coach. And I said, broker coach? What's a broker coach? I never heard of that. And one thing led to another. And at the time I said, you know what? Tiger Woods has a coach. Michael Jordan has a coach. Olympic athletes have coaches. What the heck? I'm going to give it a try. And James, I have to tell you, the best thing I ever did. I think that there are so many benefits that someone gets out of coaching. And I will tell you, whether you are a beginner, you've only been in the business a few years, or you're a veteran with decades of experience under your belt, you are leaving hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on the table if you're not being coached. I believe in it 100%. Rod is still my coach to this day, and he will be my coach for as long as I do this and as long as he's willing to keep coaching me. So it's been a great relationship, a great friendship. And I have to say, Rod has become one of my best friends. And it's been a great thing on so many levels.
Right. So at that point, I mean, you were close to 30 years in the business in 2011, 2012. So what was the inspiration? Obviously, Rod's a salesman as well. So I can only imagine how those conversations went. But what was it that went through your head that after that much time in the business that you said, you know what, I should get a coach?
Yeah, well, initially when I thought about it, I said, Rod, I'm very happy with the money I'm making. I just would like to, I have at the time a 3-year-old daughter. like to spend more time with my wife and daughter. And if you can get me to the point where I'm operating more efficiently and I can make the same money, but spend more time with my family, that would be great. And that was the objective primarily and initially. And James, what happened was that through working with Rod, it absolutely rekindled my passion for the business. And I started using new techniques, the things that Rod was training me on. And it's interesting, he'll tell the story. He told his wife, "Hey, I'm going to New York to meet with Bob Knakal, and what the heck could I possibly teach this guy?" And he was a little nervous about it, but through working together again, it rekindled all of my passion. It rekindled the focus on fundamentals. It was great to be accountable to somebody. It was great to learn what people from around North America were doing in terms of best practices. And actually, the result was that I ended up tripling the money that I made. And I did get to spend more time with my wife and daughter. So it has been, without a doubt, and I say this all the time, it has been a life changing thing for me. And I owe a great deal of my success to the teachings of the Massimo Group and Rod's coaching.
Yeah, awesome. The margin that we create is really, that is our focus, is make more money in less time. That's what we're really all about with the Massimo Group.
Mhm.
It's been a game changer for me becoming a coach. I coach a lot of the new to business people, and I always tell them is, if I would have had access to the Massimo coaching when I started my career back in 2000, I'd be surfing off my own island now. So you've got way more of a head start in your career than I did. Commercial real estate was actually a second career to me. So I didn't get started. I was 37 when I started my real estate career.
Wow.
So tell me, if do you have a funny story about Rod?
No, you know what? We have had so many good times over the years. I think that, the best times are when we're together personally. We get to talk about things. And, I think probably one of the best things that we've done together, he made this funny video called Coaching Knackle.
I was
And
going to say we launched that at the Massimo Con.
yeah,
Yeah,
when he pitched the
very
idea to me, I said, "You're out of your mind." And he's, "No, BK, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it." And we had a heck of a lot of fun doing it. It was great.
So let's talk about social media. You had been coaching with Rod for a while before you decided to go all in on your social media. How long ago was it you decided to go in?
Well, Rod was after me for a long time to become active on social media, and I was a naysayer for sure. I didn't see what the benefit was going to be. I didn't see how you could generate business from it. I thought it was a waste of time. And I'll be the first to say that the reason I decided to give it a shot was peer pressure. The my circle of friends is overwhelmingly loaded with real estate folks. And so we're often out, having a drink and telling stories about deals. And people would routinely say to me, "Hey, BK, you have to share that. You should go on social media and tell that story." And one thing led to another. And so I decided in late 2023 that in January I would give it a try, and for 3 months, and see how it goes. And I have to say, it has really been eye opening. The most eye opening thing about it was the massive reach and the breadth that social media has. I remember in the first month, I think the third week, I posted. And at that time, I was posting at 10 o'clock in the morning, and now I post at 7:30 Eastern time. But I was posting at 10 a.m. back then, and I put up a picture of what is now the famous map in the Knakal map room. And
Yes.
it was in my living room in my country house, and I was standing on top of it. It's a big 24-foot long map, and put it up on a Wednesday at 10 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, there were 8 people in JLL's offices that came up to me and said, "Hey, saw that picture of that map. That's super cool. When did you do that?" And two things struck me. One is wow, how many people? I can't believe so many people saw this within an hour of it going up. And the other thing that struck me was, what the hell are people doing looking at social media between 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday?
Right.
But I said, if it's happening here, it's probably happening everywhere. And so I've really been blown away at the reach that it's had. I'm active on all the platforms. Last year had over 23 million impressions on the combination of the various sites, and it's been tremendous. I've gotten pieces of business that are directly coming from my activity on social media. And for the first year that didn't happen, but now routinely I'm getting people who are contacting me because of social media and saying, hey, I have this deal I want to do, or something, and I'm able to directly connect the dots between my social media presence and pieces of business. And that's ideally where we all want to get to. We're not doing it for any reason other than we want to help our clients. And to the extent that being active on social media puts us in a position to get in the way of information that's going to help our clients or get business, that's a great thing. And it's absolutely happening now.
Right. You said it. So you got active in January of 2024. I would have guessed it was even before that, because that means you've only been active for a little over 18 months and you have garnered how many millions?
No, well, was it 23? It's two and a half years. So it
So
must have been January of 23.
January of 23. Okay.
Yeah, so
Still,
it's in
the
two and a
amount
half
of
years.
followers that you have gained has just been remarkable.
Yeah, I think it's about 100,000 followers on all the different platforms, and it was 23 million impressions. So for the second year in a row, CREI named me the top commercial real estate influencer on LinkedIn. I hit number one on X this year, and it's really just a testament to my social media manager, Mo Regalato, who, I write all my own content and I send it out to her every weekend. And she takes care of all the posting during the week and the editing of the videos and things like that, which I think is important. I certainly don't have the time or even the know-how to
Right.
do that. So Mo is fantastic. But it's been great. And I enjoy the feedback that I've been getting. And, again, it's creating great opportunities for my clients, which is the number one objective of everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so you kind of shared what's been your experience so far, and you are on all the channels. I've myself just recognized recently that you have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I've been doing video content for a long time, many, many years. I have all my KNN videos, which is the Knakal News Network, and put a lot of video content on the YouTube channel. So we have YouTube channel. I think we do Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and I'm sure Mo may have me on other channels as well. We generally, take one piece of content and post it on all of the platforms. And it's very interesting how, I think because we all have limited time, if you did a Venn diagram of all the different platforms, I think there's very, very little overlap because people don't have time to be on more than one channel or maybe two tops. So, you post a piece of content on one platform, it goes this way, another platform, it goes that way, another platform, it's over here. And it's just so interesting to see how they kind of evolve very differently depending on the different audiences that are involved.
Absolutely. That's what makes it so interesting. And I'm glad to hear that you mentioned Mo rather. Mo's awesome. She's talked about on with a lot of my guests. There's a lot of my guests that are using her. I know Rod uses her well. So she is the best at what she does. And the fact that she's commercial real estate specific is really helpful for somebody to be maintaining content and it being maintained in the right way, getting in front of the right eyes, all that.
Right. Right.
So, selling buildings. How many books have you sold so far?
No, I don't know what the number is, but I do know that we completely sold out within 5 hours of the launch. on May 20th. So we were really happy about that. And, I will tell you, it was a lot more of a difficult process than I anticipated when we came up with the idea. It took us 2.5 years to write it, mainly because we didn't use AI to write any part of it. It was all handwritten the old fashioned way.
Right.
And it was 2.5 years of work, but it was a very rewarding process, brought up a lot of great memories. I got to retell a bunch of great stories and a lot of the lessons learned. And the book is kind of a journey, following my path over 40 years of being a broker in New York, and the different things that we did well and not so well, and the challenges we faced and the hurdles and the almost going bankrupt, and all the other things that happened along the way. But the feedback we've gotten has been really great. A lot of people have said that it was comforting to know that I was at one time where they are now, and that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and they just have to keep at it. And a number of people have said they're very inspired by it, or were appreciative of the fact that it was so transparent through the good times and the bad. And so by virtue, or by the nature of the feedback we've gotten, I think people have reacted pretty well to it. So that's a nice thing.
Absolutely. I've been fortunate to be in the room with you more than a half a dozen times. And so I've fortunately been able to hear some of those stories in person. My favorite story is the story where you were talking about how you guys were, basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, paying one credit card bill with another credit card bill, and a closing that happened soon after that that really kind of saved you guys. So you mentioned that when we came up with the idea, where did the inspiration come from? Whose idea was it? Was it yours or was it Rod's? Or
Well,
somebody?
I've always wanted to write a book, and Rod's written several. So on one of our coaching calls, and we talk every Saturday morning for an hour, and I don't know who mentioned it first, but the topic of writing a book came up, and again, it's something I've wanted to do for quite a while. I started writing a book back in '07, '08, and didn't get around to finishing it. But this was a very interesting process. Again, a lot more work than I anticipated. I'm glad I had Rod by my side to write it together, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
I can only imagine. The two of you are probably two of the most, and I use this term with affinity, is energizer bunnies. I think that's part of the reason why you and Rod work together so well. You guys are just absolute nonstop machines. So I can only imagine how the writing of that book went. I would love to have been a fly on the wall during some of those sessions. So you mentioned it sold out, but you have more copies now. So where can people get it?
Oh yeah, go to Amazon.com. Selling Buildings by Bob Knakal and Rod Santamassimo on Amazon.com. We have another truckload that was ordered, and they are available. And absolutely, you can go to Amazon and purchase them.
Awesome. Now, I know you're going to be at the CRE Summit coming up here in a couple of weeks, September 10th through the 12th here in Palm Springs. You're going to have books there?
Absolutely. I think Kenny Ashley was nice enough to buy, I think, about 125 or 150 books. And so they will be in the swag bag along with a bunch of other stuff. But, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. That's a favorite event of mine. Get to see a lot of folks in real life that you get to spend most of your time interacting with on social media. And so it'll be great to see everybody, and maybe we'll sign a few books and have a few laughs, and get to spend some nice time with friends.
Absolutely. And I'll be looking to get my signed copy. I will be there. I will see you there. How about Ken Ashley and his community and what has come of CREI? Is that amazing?
Yeah, no, it's terrific. It's great. Again, one of the most interesting things I think about the whole ecosystem on social media is that you really do get to feel like people because you're interacting with them so frequently. that when you actually meet them for the very first time in real life, you don't feel like you're meeting them for the first time. It's like an afterthought. Oh yeah, we've never really met before. This is great. You feel like you know them, and it's a really wonderful thing. And I think the meeting face to face just really solidifies the relationship, and it's been fantastic. I mean, Ken and Nick and the whole crew, actually, fantastic job that they do. Bringing everybody together and creating a real community.
Yes, I've been fortunate myself to be in a part of the community, not nearly as active as I would love to be. I was at the very first CREI that we had in Tahoe, and it was great just because, like you said, there were a lot of people that I had known. I had interacted with Coy and Ken online, and Natalie Wainwright and Joe Killinger and some of these others. And then to finally get to meet them in person was truly amazing. So I'm very much looking forward to being there this year. Linda Day Harrison, another one with the broker list.
Hmm.
I've been blogging with her now for years, and I get to see her on a pretty regular basis. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a great event. Hopefully not too hot in the desert, but the JW Marriott should be a great place or venue for us to be there. All right, so here's the outside of the meat of why we're here. It's also to talk 1031 exchanges. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with my channel, Best 1031 Online. I'm all about the education about 1031 exchanges. I learned about 7 years ago now, that the failure rate for exchanges is more than 60% every year. Crazy number. And so I decided that, we need to have better education from the broker's point of view. So that's what I'm up to.
And James, that failure rate means that folks were not able to identify and purchase a replacement property, so they just didn't effectuate the exchange and had to pay the tax.
Yes. But the reason why it fails is there's a number of reasons why, which we could go into, but we don't have enough time today. So please go subscribe to my channel, including you, Bob.
Okay.
So before we wrap up, though, I ask all my guests is to share an interesting 1031 story that you might have. I'm sure you've done many.
Well, we don't represent buyers, so generally on our 1031 exchange business, we're referring that to a buyer's broker that does 1031 exchanges. I have a bunch of friends that are in that business, and so we refer it out. My value proposition has always been very narrow. I sell buildings. I only represent sellers. I only work on exclusives, and I only sell stuff in New York. And representing buyers in a 1031 exchange doesn't fall into that value proposition. So I've never done that, actually.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you shared that, because actually my greatest referral source are other brokers that, like you, focus on the listings, focus on, working with the sellers. And a lot of those sellers, they get into a situation, including finding out when their property that they're about to dispose is going to be a much more significant tax implication than they thought. And I get referred to people literally days before they close. I've been referred to people that are already in their identification period. It's been quite the journey over these last 7 years. But
Well,
again,
that's why I think education is such an important part of what you do, because if people knew, they might handle their sale transaction a little bit differently.
absolutely.
We
So with
certainly have we've structured our deals sometimes to accommodate our clients in their desire to do an exchange. There have been times where we have done a 90-day closing period with a series up to one transaction, a dozen 1-month extension options, so that the seller would have time to identify a replacement property. So there are times we've been tangentially involved with 1031s, not actually representing the buyer, but buyers who are doing 1031s have purchased properties from us. in the past, we're always representing the seller and not representing the buyer.
Right. Yep. That's what makes you Bob Knakal, top selling commercial broker of all time. So we're going to wrap up. And here's how we wrap up is everybody that comes on my show gets to say my tagline, which is because the best 1031 is a successful 1031.
Well, the best 1031 is a successful 1031.
And there you go. Thank you again, BK. Appreciate it very much. Can't wait to see you in the middle of September. And enjoy the rest of your summer. A couple of weeks we've got left. And we'll see you in the funny pages.
James, thanks so much for having me on. We'll see you in Palm Desert.